definitely feels battle ready.
You look ready.
Hello guys, it's Alan the Collector, and for this review we've got another double feature. We're going to be taking a look at the Battle Ready Rider Mech and the Battle Ready Drone by Gridiron Studios. Now Gridiron Studios has been on an absolute tear lately, pumping out product left and right, including the navy colored Mech Rider and Drone on what I'm calling their Battle Ready series. But as cool as they look right now, there will be some assembly required. Each set is going to come packaged in a cardboard box with packaging peanuts separated into a few parts like so, with their respective accessories in separate bags. So what we're going to do here is quickly go over each one. I've been really digging their mech so far, so how about we set our drone aside and take a look at everything the Mech Rider comes with. Now the Rider Mech includes a gun shield, 2 hoses, a pair of flamethrowers, a machine gun barrel, a pair of hip-mounted smoke launchers, a heavy machine gun, a pair of rocket launchers, and an antenna. Now getting back to our Battle Ready Rider Mech, let's first take a look at these lower legs since they're the most familiar piece that comes with this whole setup. Right off the bat you can tell that the lower legs are reused from the Mech Lower upgrade kit for the Cobra Flight Pod Gridiron Studios came out with a while back. The biggest difference that we're getting here are the colors. We get a very rich navy blue accented with gray. Everything here that you see is 3D printed. You can tell by the finish, which might be a turnoff for some, but I do think it gives the figure a little bit of a roughness. We get vents at the knees, and all kinds of rivets and mechanical details everywhere where you would want them. And then we also get some subtle black accents as well where we see the pistons. Again, the pistons themselves aren't functional because the legs can't actually articulate. When we get to the bottom, of course, we get that Gridiron Studios initials, and then we get the logo itself too. Now, as I said, they are basically reused from the Mech Lower upgrade kit, but the biggest thing that we're going to see here is the assembly in the middle. These obviously aren't compatible with the flight pods. We get some new details like some vents that we're getting here in the front, and it's completely identical in the back too. And then when we flip it to the bottom, we also get some more mechanical details that look pretty nice. But the biggest difference here is the addition of this black piece, which can swivel 360 degrees. So now let's put these away and take a look at the upper half that looks like a miniaturized tank. I'm really digging the camera piece that we get dead center on the upper half. It has a high gloss applied to the lens which catches light really well. And then on either side of that we get these gray and red pieces. I'm thinking they could be some kind of sensor or possibly lights to help this thing navigate through the battlefield. We also get what looks to be a gray grill bar to help protect the front perhaps. Those bars extend along the top and all the way to the back. This top section has a very angular shape with raised panels, rivets, and bolts to help sell the look. The weapon mounts also sport a decent amount of detail, lots of porting and bolts to give it an industrial feel. It all looks really nice. The black section in the middle also has an angular design with panel lines that kind of give it a high-tech futuristic look. There's a gray data panel at the back, probably for inputting commands, and then a few rectangular gaps for accessories that will come in handy later. More gray bars that your figures could grab onto if you want. And finally, when we get towards the underside in the back, we get a few ports that will accommodate the hoses and the antenna. But that should do it for the details, so how about we go ahead and attach our two halves? All we have to do is line up this piece right here with the torso attachment there. From the looks of it, it just slides together. Come on, all we gotta do is... I don't know why it's not working this time around. I just feel like I gotta... Come on. Oh, shoot!
Oh no, I broke it!
I'm just playing, guys. It's designed to do that. This black piece in the middle actually pops off to help this connect a little bit more easily. And once you slide this upper half on, you're gonna find these 2 tabs on the black portion here. You get one in the back and then one towards the front as well. And they'll fit into these indentations on the Mech Rider. You just kind of place it on, and it snaps together. The best part is that this piece actually helps lock everything together. So this thing isn't gonna slide off on you when you're messing around with it. Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Gridiron!
Next up, we get a pair of ammunition storage cans. We get a few cool sculpted details here on the sides with these gaps, clips, and then the handle that soldiers would use to carry this thing. It's completely hollowed out on the underside, so if you had some shorter ammo belts, you could store them in here, but the main intention for these is to plug them right here onto these gaps on the upper half. But if you ask me, even though this thing probably runs on some kind of liquid fuel, they almost look like they could double as batteries, so that's what I'm gonna pretend they are. We also get this ledge that attaches to the back of our Rider Mech, which will allow our 6-inch figures to ride on this thing. We get this tread plate pattern that's been molded into the gray half of this piece, along with some panel lines and other rivet details. We also get some piping on the bottom here too. And then we get some of those same details on this navy colored portion. We get this knob here on the bottom and then this clip here on the top. And what we're gonna do here is fit it in with this peg hole that we get on the underside. All you gotta do is line it up, and then this has just the slightest bit of flex. And it's not going anywhere, it's a pretty secure connection. And now that we have the main body fully assembled, it's time for the fun part where we start connecting accessories like these smoke launchers. And thanks to everyone who corrected me in the comment section of my Gridiron leg upgrade review. I mistakenly thought these were rocket launchers. They just attach on with these hexagonal ports onto these hexagonal gaps right here. And where there's smoke, there's bound to be fire, and I'm glad this Rider mech comes with some flamethrowers that we can use to really help light up a battlefield. Now this isn't the same flamethrower design that we got on the upper half of the flight pod upgrade kit, but it's sculpted just as well. Because I'm porting here on the main body, some sculpted hoses, and then a lighter and more porting here as we get towards the barrel. We also get these two peg holes here on the top, which will plug in into the bottom of the upper half. All we gotta do is line it up. I must say, they look pretty nice as expected, and now that we have them attached, it's time to light up a room. What the? Why aren't these things working?
All performance issues,
It's probably because we haven't attached any hoses to the fuel tank. We actually get a pair of hoses right here. They're pretty simple, they're molded out of a black plastic, and they're hollow as well. They have a lot of flex to them, and even though they're short, they'll be just long enough to attach to the Mech Rider. All we gotta do is plug in one end here, like so. And then we'll do the same thing on this fuel tank. But if you're not a fan of playing with fire, we also get this machine gun barrel for those of you who prefer spraying lead. It's got some decent details that are sculpted to it. We get some porting along the length of the barrel and some decent details when we get to the nose as well. A 4-prong connection to help this thing attach, and we get this detail here on the top that isn't present on all the other sides of this barrel. It won't affect the connection at all, but it will tell you if it's upright or not. All we gotta do is just line up this 4-prong peg to this rectangular gap right here. There we go, fits well enough. And it works like a charm. But if you're looking for a little more firepower, we also get these rocket launchers that look like they came straight out of the movie Commando. So they have all the surface details that you might expect. I'm especially digging the design that we get on the gray portions here, especially when we get to the exhaust ports where the backblast would come out. We get some riveting detail on the navy portion towards the bottom, and then to top it all off, we get these red-tipped missiles just to give it a pop of color. We also get these peg holes here at the top, which will connect to these arms here on the sides. There we go. And the cool part here is that these arms are actually articulated, so you can give it a little bit of expression, and you can actually remove it, rotate this arm 180 degrees, and attach it like so. So if you want a slightly different look with these rocket launchers positioned a little bit higher, you can do that. Taking a break from weapons, we do get this black antenna. It's a pretty simple piece, but we do have some more intricate details that have been sculpted into it. It has these pegs here on either side that will help plug into the back of this Rider mech right here. So now, not only does this mech connect to Wi-Fi, you can pretend as though this thing is operating remotely. But of course, this was marketed as a rideable mech, and so to achieve that look, what we have here is the gun shield and the heavy machine gun. We've seen both of these pieces for the most part before, with the level 3 upgrade kit that came with our flight pod. Here's the gun shield that came with that piece. As you can see, it's the exact same except for the color, and the connection points are the same as well. When we take a look at the heavy machine gun, we can also see how they're the exact same sculpt as well. The only difference here is the arm attached to it, because our new one is obviously made for the Rider mech. It has a rectangular port where the Navy gun shield can connect. The heavy machine gun is able to articulate ever so slightly, but unfortunately the stand is scraping against the surface of the gun shield. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the look of that at all, so be sure to watch out for that if you order them. It does have this peg which will attach to this hole right here on the center. And the swivel on it offers very little resistance, so you will be able to get this thing to turn from side to side fairly easily. But I am going to remove it, because I find that it's best to get this weapon in the hand of a 6-inch figure before we attach it. We have this Cobra officer from the G.I. Joe classified line. He'll be a perfect pilot. Trust me, you'll have an easier time doing it this way than when it's already attached. Then we're just going to give his legs a slight bend, just to get him positioned for the ledge. There we go. Now we're just going to line up this peg, and then get his feet locked in, and there you have it. Our Rider mech is complete. This definitely feels battle ready.
You look ready.
I'm really digging the direction Gridiron Studios is going in. This is something that doesn't require any of your G.I. Joe classified figures to create, but it will supplement those collections. And for those of you who were worried about the articulation, you can get this guy balanced on one leg pretty easily. So if you have some dynamic poses in mind, you should be able to strike him pretty well. Like so. So while the articulation is limited, it is serviceable. In fact, it's almost as if Gridiron Studios designed their own version of Ed 209. And speaking of which, if If you recall in the film, Ed 209 wasn't the most agile robot, and the NECA figure can move in almost all the same ways. We got articulation at the arms, a little bit at the legs, and we even have some waist movement as well, which happens to be all the way that our Mech Rider drone also moves. So if you can have fun with Ed 209, I think you'll have plenty of fun with the Mech Rider drone as well.
You now have 15 seconds to complete.
I'd buy that for $1.
And as you can see, our Cobra officer is able to articulate that heavy machine gun pretty well. His back is left pretty exposed, but again, this is supposed to be a support vehicle. So if you have a large Cobra army like myself, then these guys should be able to give you some backup.
Take cover!
Wait a minute, where'd you guys go? Oh shoot. Dang it, I could really use some cover. I can't fire off a clean shot on the Dragonfly. Oh shoot! Who was that? Oh right, I almost forgot about the battle-ready drone. Well, how about we go ahead and take a look at what it comes with. Now our drone includes a cylindrical rocket launcher, a feed chute, an antenna, and an ammo belt. And just like our battle-ready Mech Rider, our battle-ready drone comes in two halves, and we're going to start with the bottom half, which happens to be my favorite, mostly because of these treads here. Each of these pieces are 3D printed, and they actually function. Now unfortunately, these treads aren't going to work well on a smooth surface, but if you have carpet, or maybe even your hands, they'll actually function quite nicely. This whole lower half is completely symmetrical, so no matter which way you have the drone positioned, it's gonna look awesome. We also get the same connection point on the drone as we did with the Mech Rider, and that'll come in handy in a little bit. But first, let's take a look at the top half. The details here are a bit more intricate. We have a 4-barreled Gatling gun that actually rotates. The details on here are pretty nice, and there's a little bit of weathering as well. This drone also has a camera here on the side that can swivel from side to side. We get a high gloss for the lens, and then some other touches of paint just to bring out the details. Just like our Mech Rider, we also get rubber hoses just to give it a more realistic feel. A couple of indentations that'll come in handy for some accessories later. Of course, we need the Gridiron Studios logo on the main body. And then on the left side, we get a large ammo can. It's 3D printed out of a gray resin, and it's covered in riveting detail as well. It just tabs right in, and the lid also comes off. Now when it comes to attaching these two halves, it's really easy. Just like our Rider Mech, we're just gonna slide the black piece right onto the top half. There we go, and that's half the battle right there. And now that we have our halves attached, let's start adding some accessories. First, we'll start with this ammo belt. It's pretty long, I think about 5 inches, and each of these bullets are individually linked. And as much as I love to drape these on a 6-inch figure, we have another place to put these. All we have to do is open up this ammo canister, and then we'll just lay them in there. There we go. Now you might be wondering how this drone would access those bullets, and for that we're going to bring in this feed chute. Feed chutes can have many purposes, but in this case it's used to help guide ammunition into your firearms. And I love the organic feel it has. It kind of reminds me of the band of a metal watch. Each of these segments are individually linked together. It has a gunmetal gray sheen and 2 tabs on either side that will be used to attach it to our drone. Plug in one half here, and then for the other half, we'll just slide it in like that. I really dig how naturally the feed chute falls. For our final weapon, we get this missile launcher. It has the same color scheme as the rest of the drone, with similar riveting and tech details applied to the top and bottom. We get ports for the backblast, and then we get silver tip missiles. I think I would have preferred red, but the silver still looks nice as well. And to attach it, we have this cross-shaped connection point that will be used to tap in to the right side of the drone. Just give it a press, and while it doesn't have any articulation itself, it can tilt up and down with the Gatling gun. And finally, just like our Mech Rider, we also get an antenna to make this thing fully autonomous. It shares the exact same sculpt as the one that attached to the Mech Rider. The only difference is that this will be going on the right side of the drone. It'll attach using this gap right here, and then a shallower tab here towards the back. Just gotta line all the pieces up. And once it's on there, it's not going anywhere. And there we have it. We have a fully automated drone. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this thing. And speaking of fun, there's still one other feature I want to show off with these battle-ready figures. So let's bring our mech back in. Now, when I was going over the drone, you may have noticed that I said the connection point between the mech and the drone are the exact same. And that was done intentionally. Think of this piece like the plate of a tripod where you can attach different cameras on. Well, you can do the same thing with Gridiron figures as well. So with that knowledge, let's see what combination we can achieve. And I really like this feature because you can give your battle-ready weapon some really unique looks. Like this one, for example, which is basically a blue fat boy.
Oh my God!
Gridiron Studios is releasing an updated green version, so now if you want a blue version, you can achieve that look with these two figures. And if you want, you can still have your Cobra officer trailing in the back. And even though our Cobra officer doesn't have a place to grab onto anymore, we still have a battle-ready mech drone now, which looks equal parts cool and creepy if you ask me. And the compatibility doesn't stop with these two sets either. You'll find that all Gridiron Studios drones have that same connection point, which means besides the weapon system on the upper half, you can mix and match until you achieve your favorite look. I'm not gonna lie, the black on blue doesn't look half bad. But when red's all over, it's not for me. But maybe it's for you. And the best part is that if we go on the Gridiron Studios website, you can actually buy the upper and lower halves of the drones as well as their lower legs for the mechs separately in different color schemes. And since they're modular, you could build your own versions with different weapon systems. Building your own drone will be a little more expensive than buying a completed version outright, but if you build your own mech, it actually comes out just a little bit cheaper than the ready-made ones. And with that out of the way, it's time for a size comparison. The Battle Ready mechs by Gridiron are in the 6-inch scale, so the drone is about 4 inches and the Mech Rider stands close to 9 inches tall, which means they're gonna fit in with a lot of 6-inch figures, including the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Space Rangers. Here's how they look next to some of my favorite Marvel Legend X-Men figures. They're going to work really well with troop builders and lines like the G.I. Joe Classified series. And it'll also look great next to the HasLab Dragonfly and the Vamp. The same is true for the HasLab Hiss Tank and Cobra Stinger, in addition to other vehicles in the line, like the Python Patrol Flight Pod, Anti-Tank Drone, Cobra Coil, and Cobra HMS. Here it is flanked next to 2 Robo Skulls by Skeletron, and you could probably fudge it in with sci-fi lines from McFarlane Toys like Cyberpunk, Doom, Warhammer, and Doom. Here's how it looks next to some original NECA cartoon turtles and some of the larger robots like Metalhead, Chrome Dome, and Rex 1. I think they'll work great with the Legion builders and 4 Horsemen Studios Cosmic Legions line. And of course, it's going to look great next to the previous Level 2 and Level 3 Flight Pod upgrades by Gridiron. And finally, here's how it looks under black light. And you guessed it, no effect. So as for my final thoughts, I'm really digging the Gridiron Studios Battle Ready mech and drone sets. It's no secret that I'm a fan of their mech designs, and the navy colored Mech Rider is no different. If you like the Cobra Flight Pod upgrade kit, you're gonna like the repurposed legs here. The new upper body has a very compact sci-fi militaristic design with some creative engineering to keep it locked into the legs. And the weapons that come with it give it a very powerful look. The articulation is limited, but I think there's still a lot of fun to be had with what's present. The drone is an awesome variation of their previous drone sets, but the missile launcher in the navy color definitely helped to set it apart from the rest. The fact that you can mix and match the upper and lower halves to create new variations of these vehicles is a really nice touch, and it blows the doors wide open as far as future upgrade kits are concerned. However, they're not perfect. The scratches I got on the gunner shield when I was articulating the heavy machine gun was definitely a bit of a bummer. The 3D texture is not going to be for everybody, and these figures certainly aren't cheap. If you order within the first few days, you got a bit of a discount, but now they're back to their $60 and $90 price points, which is going to be a tough sell, especially if you're not already a fan of the designs. But if this is within your price range, I would definitely recommend it, especially the Mech Rider if you can only swing one. I've been enjoying both so far, and I'm happy to report that my army is definitely more battle ready. But that'll do it for this review. As you can tell, I enjoyed these figures quite a bit, and however you may feel about them, at the very least I hope you enjoyed my review, especially if you found it entertaining or helpful. And if so, please don't forget to like, comment, and share my video. It helps out more than you know. Be sure to stick around for a gallery at the end, and as always, collect responsibly.